Hey, it's Sifra here. Doing things a little differently this week. I was out of town when I played Brighton, so I wasn't able to do a live comm, but this will be interesting. It gives me a little bit of a chance as we go through this. It'll give me a little bit of chance to talk about team building, because there isn't someone waiting for me to battle right now, as I'm typically doing with these live comms. So I'll come through and talk about how I built the team, and then we can hop into the replay and see how the battle went. Week 4 versus Brighton, SBL season. I don't even remember what season it is. That's how crazy it is. What? But yeah, so I have illustriously taken a lot of effort in putting both of our teams next to each other in paint to illustrate this. As you can tell, it's something that I really put time into and didn't just copy paste in the last 5 seconds. But I feel like team building starts here, just kind of looking at the teams. And really what happened for me this week is there were 4 Pokemon that I kind of cut out of wanting to build with early. And then I started building with the remaining 7 in mind. And kind of just went from there to figure out what team I was bringing. So when I looked at this, first thing I saw was I like Tapu Bulu, but Mamoswine is not something that Bulu can check, right? And then even if Bulu comes in here, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 times resist to grass type moves, and all that together, plus even just thinking Garchomp, if he wants to, is bringing Poison Jab, and I can't even check that with Bulu. So all those things considered, Bulu was the first thing. I realized this was not a Bulu game, and I had to build my team without the comfort of grassy terrain, which made his high tier ground types that much more worrying to come across. Without grassy terrain, it makes Hitmonlee a little bit less appealing. I'm really looking forward to bringing the Grassy Seed Hitmonlee as a knockoff Halucha at some point. This isn't the week for it. It's got other sets it can run, but didn't really scream any of that coming into it. Camerupt, his electric type is also a water type. So Camerupt takes the bench. It's done really well for me in checking things like Mega Mawile earlier this season. But I do think more often than not it's probably going to end up riding the bench unless there's very specific Pokemon it needs to counter. If I need a Rotom Wash counter, Lantern is about as good as it gets anyways. And the other one that I ended up quickly ruling out actually is Mandibuzz, for kind of similar reason to Tapu Bulu. It's helpless against Mamoswine, Garchomp. When I was thinking about Garchomp sets he might want to run, one thing that came to mind was something like Earthquake, Poison Jab, Stone Edge, and then maybe Substitute or Swords Dance. One of those 3 attack offensive sets that would give me a bit of trouble. If you look at my team, that hits most of my team super effectively. Not Chansey and not Ditto when it comes in, and not Hitmonlee. But the rest of that, it's got something for it. Most importantly, it's got something for my ground resists and immunities, which just generally kind of makes that a little bit scary. Basically, the thinking there is both of his ground types that I would want to be able to check with Mandibuzz have a rather clear way of beating through it. It does help if he's running Bandit or Scarf, but I felt I could check that in other ways. So that leaves me with Aegislash, Chansey, Ditto, Noivern, Cloyster, Nihilego, and Lantern as 7 that I wanted to consider building with. And jumping to Team Builder, we can kind of talk through what I was thinking with all of these. Maybe I'll pull this up on the side over here so that we can still look at. Gosh, I'm a genius. So we can have this here as I talk through what each of these Pokemon actually are gonna try to do. Cool. So Chansey, fully defensive on this one. Honestly, I often, instead of this in HP, I'll put it in special defense, just because Chansey already has way too much HP. But this is a little bit more physically bulky, and the reasoning here is I'm going to end up running Shell Smash Cloyster, which cannot outspeed Scarf Garchomp. So I need something that is very comfortable to take whatever it can from Scarf Garchomp. And Chansey is a good option for that. Chansey is a good option against Scarfs in general. Really, a lot of things except for, a physical fighting type Pokemon is going to struggle to beat through Chansey if it's Scarfed, just from lacking the raw power. So this is kind of jack of all trades. I'll play with it a lot, see kind of what I need to. It helps me if he wants to go Sun with Venusaur, stuff like that. I can get up rocks. I think this will be fairly easy to get up rocks with. And most importantly, it'll keep a Scarf Garchomp from being terrifying for me. Man, am I going to have to do this every time? I click one of these, this goes away, I click that. Okay. We'll live with it. Ditto here. I don't even bother with the EVs most of the time. If Ditto comes in and doesn't transform, I'm pretty screwed anyways. I love giving it, because the nature doesn't matter, I love using the natures that you never use anywhere else because they don't actually do anything. It makes me feel good to know that I have a quirky Ditto over here. Maybe next week I'll bring a serious Ditto. All those natures that you never get to see. This is my quirky Ditto right here. Ended up bringing this in part just to keep Charizard X from running through my team, in addition to being able to scout movesets so that, maybe I get a sense for, if I see 4 attacks on Garchomp, then I go, okay, maybe this is Scarf, and I'll play it like it's Scarf until I learn otherwise. Or I can scout maybe a Crobat, because I'm not sure what, if he brings Crobat, I'm not sure what type of Crobat it's going to be. There's a part in the back of my mind that says, hey, Aegislash is a very obvious counter to Crobat, so look out for the Heat Wave. Which, in the sun especially, might be able to hit KO Aegislash with very minimum stuff coming from a defensive thing. So Ditto's just going to be able to get some of those questions off, as well as provide a blanket check. Blanket check for setup. Nihilego realized that there really isn't... Is it there really isn't? Or... so Garchomp. Garchomp is the rock resist on this team. So I feel really good. Initially I was like, oh, this will be a good specs set. Whatever. But then I remembered the new tool that we got here with Power of Meteor Beam. To, in one turn, boost your special attack and fire off a stab base 120 rock attack. And this seems perfect, because with the rock stab, I can run rock moves twice, and just carry coverage for things that are bulkier. So Dazzling Gleam for Garchomp because it resists, and Thunderbolt for Celesteela because it's kind of fat. One of the things I really like about Nihilego in Draft is how, with just a little bit of... taking just a little bit off the special attack, you can get the... what am I saying? You can get the Beast Boost to be speed instead of special attack. So, on more offensive teams where you don't want to be revenge killed, you can get a speed Beast Boost. But in this case... we're just going with the special attack Beast Boost, kind of seeing if we can get the ball rolling a bit. This is a good speed tier against him without Scarf or anything. He's really got Crobat or Sun to outspeed me here. so I feel really good about this set being able to be dangerous. Aegislash ends up needing to be, in part, I needed something to... Where am I going with this? I needed Air Balloon just because I didn't have that grassy terrain, so I was extra vulnerable to the earthquakes from his top 2 Pokemon this week. This gives me a good option against Choice-Locked Garchomp and Choice-Locked Mamoswine, but also, I think against Garchomp this can just basically come in. I can't imagine a set that he has that's going to be able to hit Aegislash if it has the Air Balloon up for anything reasonable. And Mamoswine probably I think is going to have Knock, but Knockoff is going to be doing a lot less than the Air Balloon. This set is because he doesn't have a Ghost Resist. So Shadow Claw into Shadow Sneak honestly is going to do a lot of damage coming off a big attack stat here. I think it'll do a lot. Swords Dance, I can see a situation where I want to try to clean with Shadow Sneak late in the game and just provide pressure. And then Head Smash is here because the one thing that really doesn't care if I Shadow Claw or whatever is going to be Torkoal. Just with its big defense stat, and I can pick up the KO on that and outspeed it, which is the important thing because I don't have King Shield. So once I get attacking, I need to keep attacking. So Head Smash is just... I really needed 3 movesets here. Head Smash means that if he brings Torkoal, I don't need to weaken it before I can kind of go for the Shadow Sneak clean. EVs were pretty standard. I dumped a little bit into speed, just in case. This is one where I was counting on outspeeding Torkoal, but I didn't guarantee the outspeed on Torkoal. So dump a little bit in there, both for Torkoal and to try to make sure I can outspeed Celesteela as well. Because Celesteela is base 61 speed. So that's just dumping some in there. Generally, I like to, if I'm trying to not get speed crept on the minimum end, I'm going to dump somewhere between like 4 to 40 speed EVs in there, just so that if you're trying to exactly speed creep me, there's a little bit of random chance in there as to how much speed I did decide to dump into it. Moving on to Cloyster. This set I had fun building. Shell Smash, Icicle Spear, Rock Blast is really good against him. His ice resists being Torkoal and Rotom Wash. So Torkoal's going to go down to a Rock Blast. Rotom Wash needs a little bit, maybe like 2 rounds of Stealth Rock before Rock Blast will go through even a more defensive set. When it came down to it, in the last move slot, my options were, I felt for item I could either go King's Rock and go for flinches to get through Corsola, and then have either Surf for the KO on Mamoswine, Ice Shard to beat Scarf Garchomp, or I could run a Chesto Berry and Rest, which basically says if he thinks he's going to check this with Corsola, I'm going to Shell Smash again in his face as he Nightshades and burns me, and then I'm going to rest up, and after 2 Shell Smashes, the game is 100% over. There's nothing he can do. So this is kind of relying off the, if it's Scarf Garchomp, I think I can handle this between like Aegislash and Chansey, because I can't quite outspeed Scarf Garchomp with the set I'm running. I needed the little boost in attack to get some of the rolls better. I decided that Mamoswine was probably going to be pivoting in a lot, so I felt confident that I could get it down to about half before I wanted to sweep, instead of using Surf. So this one just lets me, if he has Corsola and thinks it's going to check Cloyster, he loses. And that's really fun to me. This last Pokemon, the reason why I mentioned 7 earlier, this last Pokemon was Lantern. This was Lantern. Let me check Rotom Wash easy as I try to get it into range for Cloyster. Generally pretty good. decent check on Megazard. It was going to be Scald, Volt Switch, Toxic, and either Heal Bell or Thunder Wave, just to kind of see where I wanted to go there. Maybe even Protect. But I thought of, what Charizard sets are there out there that are going to be problematic to me. And the one I thought up was substitute Dragon Dance Roost Fire Punch. And what that does is allows him to boost once or twice. Ditto can't revenge kill, and he can set up a sub in a Ditto's face or just Roost to outlast Ditto's PP there. Wear Ditto down with Fire Punches over time. Continue to boost up in its face. And if I just had that Lantern set, I really had to rely on Cloyster because everything else would be eventually overwhelmed. And even Cloyster, after 1 or 2 Dragon Dances, I'm in trouble. So all in all, that set scared me a bit. I wanted something that was more of a concrete, if Zard gets out of hand, I have this in the back to help me out here. And that's how we ended up with Noivern in this last spot with a strange EV spread. This is enough speed to outspeed Garchomp. Dump everything in HP, and then pull EVs from HP into defense until it could survive a +1 Dragon Claw from Zard X at full health with the Habanberry. So that's what this spread does, and the rest gets dumped into special attack so that I can do damage back. Yeah. In general, being at that point, the other thing I wanted to be able to do was after Rocks, because I am Rocks weak here. After Rocks, I wanted to be able to just take a Dragon Claw as well, meaning that I can just switch this in on Charizard once. I don't even care what it's doing. I can switch this in. I can take the hit. If he boosts up and I'm still at full, I can KO back. If he Dragon Claws, great hit. If he doesn't have Dragon Claw because he's running some fancy set to beat Ditto, which props, then I have Draco Meteor to get through there. And Infiltrator in case there's any substitute shenanigans anywhere on his team. So I felt pretty good about this Noivern set, and you've listened to my team building for far too long already, so we can actually get into the replay. And we can see what he brings. I'm definitely... I was a little surprised to see the Sun Core get brought, because I felt like Chansey kind of handled that very well, and if Chansey didn't, then Ditto also handled that very well. And he didn't really want to get kills with Venusaur anyway, just because the revenge options were kind of dangerous with Ditto. I didn't know what he was going to lead with. I did not have a good sense of what he was going to lead with. So I went Ditto, just trying to... Oh, God, that is loud. Rookie mistake. I clicked the music on version. Moving on. Send out Ditto first here. What we're going to get out of Ditto is just seeing what he's got. In this case, he had Earth Power, Lava Plume, Solar Beam, and Rocks. I'm tempted to go for Rocks turn 1, but I decide if he's just going to stay in with Torkoal, I should just go for Earth Power, which looks like it's going to be a good 2-hit KO. I see Earth Power does that. I'm predicting he's going to switch out to either Rotom Wash, Charizard, or Crobat, and I think my best mid-ground is Chansey. Especially because if he still stays in, I know this thing isn't going to be able to do any damage to Chansey. So we're going to bring in Chansey here. He does go for the Earth Power, and it does minimal damage here. I can take this opportunity to get up Rocks, because I don't think he's staying in. And he goes to Crobat. And I probably should have taken this as a clue that this Crobat was a Crobat that beats Chansey based on the fact that it came in on Chansey, but in my mind at this point I'm still thinking I don't trust that this isn't a mixed Crobat with Heat Wave that can get through my obvious Crobat switch in of Aegislash. So I'm going to keep Chansey in and just see what he's trying to do, and he goes for the taunt. And at this point, I should probably be confident enough that this isn't really going to have too much. You know, you see taunt on Crobat, and you're kind of initially thinking, you're immediately thinking, okay, taunt, roost, Brave Bird, Super Fang is kind of the immediate taunt set. Maybe one of those attacking moves is switched out for U-turn or defog or something like that. But that's really what you think. In my mind, I'm still thinking, well, there's Sun Up, and he brought Sun, and maybe Heat Wave is on the set to blast through Aegislash when I bring it in, and this is something that kind of splits being able to beat Chansey and being able to beat Aegislash, which is cool. Plus, there's no Garchomp, so I don't need this to keep Scarf Garchomp in check. Really, the only thing I need it to keep in check is... Rotom Wash I think I'm fine against in general. I'm feeling like Noivern probably is okay against it, and then Aegislash and Nihilego both can force it out. Venusaur in the Sun, I'd like to have Chansey for, but Ditto can generally deal with that. Maybe Noivern as well. So we're going to keep Chansey in here and just go for a toss, and he does show off the Super Fang. So here I really think about switching, but after rocks damage, I'm down to in my 20%. So at this point I go, I think I just lost Chansey, so I'll just get some damage on Crobat while I can. I'm going to go for Protect here, thinking he's going to go for Brave Bird, because I want to switch out to Nihilego, but I wanted him to Brave Bird here and then taunt next turn as a mix-up, and I actually did the exact opposite, where he taunted and then Brave Bird as a mix-up. So I ended up giving him a little bit of health back and taking the damage on Nihilego that I didn't want to take. At this point, I was torn between Power Gem and Meteor Beam. I probably should have flipped this replay around so that we were watching from my side of things. The more you know. Is it too late to switch sides? Cool, now we're watching from my perspective. So that's that previous turn again. We're tasting the Brave Bird here. I'm contemplating my options. I want to click one of my two rock moves on this. I don't think I'm at a point where I can actually just run through his team with Meteor Beam. And I feel like Power Gem is a fine option here. So I am going to go just with Power Gem. And I think it was the right call, because he goes out to Torkoal, and I get the KO with Power Gem here, and still have Meteor Beam in the back. Even if I want to use it this turn. He goes out to Mamoswine. And my thought on Mamoswine here is, this is a banded set, and it's going to Ice Shard me. So I go to sack off Chansey, because it's not doing much the rest of this game. He goes for Earthquake. Earthquake here says, to me, it says Mamoswine Scarfed. And I don't hate Scarf Mamoswine as much because I can play around it a bit with Aegislash, which is who I'm going to go into. And also, Scarf Mamoswine isn't fast enough to outspeed Shell Smash Cloyster. So it doesn't make that sweep any harder. I just need to make sure I get the requisite damage on Mamoswine before I can do that. So we're going to go into Aegislash here. If he is something weird, like, he could be an AV set or something, and that's why he was comfortable bringing in Mamoswine. If he is something weird, he can knock here. but I feel really good about just getting the damage on Mamoswine if he does want to keep it in. I like that the Sun Turns are expiring for good, because that's going to make Venusaur that much easier to deal with when I know for sure I can outspeed it with Noivern, and for sure that I can outspeed it with Cloyster when I go for the final sweep, that he doesn't have that option to save him there. But this immediate turn, we're just going to go for Shadow Claw here. And this is just Aegislash being strong, right? Shadow Claw, 57%. Half of that's roughly 30, so I know that Shadow Sneak, which is going to do a little bit more than half of what Shadow Claw did, is going to be able to pick up the KO. Rotom Wash coming in here. I didn't pause in time. Without Chansey, I don't have a great pivot. Ditto is an option to see what he's got, but I have some investment on Noivern, and I'm expecting a more defensive Rotom, so I think Noivern should be pretty safe to come in here. I never did calc this, but this Thunderbolt does a lot more damage than I was anticipating, and I'm thinking this is more of an offensive Rotom, maybe even Scarf. And I might have just lost Noivern. If this is Scarf, it's going to outspeed Noivern and KO me here. Which I kind of just have to live with if it is, and be prepared to play the rest of the game, making sure that I don't leave Charizard a setup opportunity if I do lose Noivern here. And that's a little bit of a risk I have coming into Noivern at this point, but with Chansey out of the game, I'm okay taking damage on Noivern, because most of these Pokemon have a way of deterring Charizard from trying to set up. So I don't think I'm as at risk of a potential sweep as I was when I had Chansey out there. And Chansey is an immediate switch out if he does have Charizard in. So back to what's actually happening. Noivern takes damage. I think this is an offensive Rotom based on that damage, although I never did actually calc it. So I could just be overestimating Noivern's bulk. But in any event, I feel like I can roost here. He switches out, so I'm not thinking Scarf at that point, because Scarf could just take it. He switches out here. I know the Crobat set now. The last move, it's definitely roost here. So I can go out into Aegislash, no worries. And really, I'm going to try to set up a Swords Dance. At this point, I'm kind of thinking, set up a Swords Dance, deal damage to whatever he has. Just deal damage to whatever he has. And we're getting into the end game where either Nihilego or Cloyster is probably going to be able to sweep if Aegislash isn't in the first place. So I'm not sure if he's going to switch or Brave Bird here. I don't expect a taunt because I attacked right away out the gate last time. So I'm going to go for a Swords Dance. He goofs and clicks Super Fang, which is really unfortunate for him because I still have the Balloon, so Mamoswine isn't as easy of a fix here. But also, I get the ×2. So I get the free Swords Dance there. And I decide to go for another Swords Dance here. I'm not sure if he's just going to break my Balloon or taunt or switch or whatever. But if I get up another Swords Dance, I think it's basically game over. And Shadow Sneak with these rocks on the board, I'm thinking is probably enough to take out Rotom and Mamoswine from that point. So I go for another Swords Dance. He does taunt, so makes the right move there. At this point, I just really need to start dealing damage to things. So we'll Shadow Claw. Impressed by Crobat not going down to the Shadow Claw, but I can just Shadow Sneak here and get the KO. I'm not sure what he's going to go into next. I'm pretty much resigned to Shadow Sneaking it. It's Mamoswine, which makes me a little bit happy because I feel like Cloyster's going to be able to set up on it now, and it's going to be game. So Mamoswine comes in here. I'm still thinking Scarf. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm definitely thinking Scarf on this. The fact that he knocks this turn, I'm still really thinking Scarf. But here, as long as I don't miss the Rock Blast, it should be over. With two, I said in the team building part, I really wanted 2 rounds of rocks damage on Rotom before I felt comfortable with Rock Blast being able to take it out. This does look to be more of an offensive set because it looks like Rock Blast just would have KO'd this Rotom from full anyways based off the damage of that. So I needed the 90%. I needed Rock Blast to hit there, or else this was going to be maybe a little bit more annoying. Was probably going to have to dance around doing a little bit of damage before trying to finish up with Nihilego if I missed that. Or I could have just gone, maybe. I didn't think about that too much. Meteor Beam might have been able to get it from that range. That probably would have been the move, is Meteor Beam and then just Power Gem Charizard if I had missed that. But I don't miss that. We can Icicle Spear here. And pick up the win, bringing me back up to 3-1 on the season. Good battle here. I do think I kind of managed to hold on offensively for most of the game. After he got my Chansey, I felt pretty comfortable most of this game still, that I had the right offensive combination in the end with Aegislash, Cloyster, and Nihilego, that he really wasn't going to be able to overcome. And I think I generally maintained a pressure pretty well for most of this game. I liked the Crobat set. I've got to be more conscious of Taunt to get rid of Chansey, because Taunt and Knock should be coming against me a lot of the time. I'm curious what the Charizard set was. Really, that's, a way of neutralizing Charizard is I don't think there was any turn that it was immediately easy. Maybe after he taunted, he could have switched into Charizard and tried to set up in Chansey's face. But even then, rocks were already on the field. It's just one of those where I'm glad it worked out how it did, where I was able to kind of control, I think, the flow of the battle, and his offensive Pokemon that really were huge threats to me didn't really get to put me on the backswing really for most of the game. But I think he played well. He made the Super Fangaff, which is just, it happens to the best of us. I've run a similar set like this before and tried to rest up in electric terrain. It's just one of those where you facepalm a bit, you go, oh my god, why did I just do that? And then you move on because it's Pokemon and we're not machines, and it happens. But I thought it was a pretty good game, thought he played well. Looking forward to battle next week. Thanks for listening. I know this was a little longer than usual, so I don't really expect many people to have made it through this. But hope you had a good time if you are here, and I will see you next week.